The 2025 race season has been more disappointing than 2024, and it's not close.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On behalf of Kevin Weiss, I'm Ulises Sambrano, and we are lifelong Rays fans who've been podcasting about the Tampa Bay Rays since 2019. And on today's Mailbag episode, because it's Mailbag Wednesday, we'll compare Josh Lowe and Christopher Morel defensively and why the numbers tell a bigger story than the eye test. In a few minutes, we'll sort through the crowded picture at first base and DH with Yandy, Jonathan Aranda, and Big Bob Seymour. But to kick off things, we're going to break down why the 2025 season has been more disappointing than 2024. First, we got to tell you that this episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So let's start with the first mailbag question of the day, brought to you by Charles McGregor, who says, "Hey fellas, I was wondering which season you think is more disappointing as a Rays fan, 2024 or 2025? For me, I think the strong May and June paired with the wasted good seasons from Brandon Lowe and Caminero makes 2025 especially hard to swallow. However, as 2025 ends, there seems to be more hope for next season, especially regarding the offense and the young core, than towards the end of 2024 after the trade deadline fire sale of Rosarena, Paredes, Adam, and Eflin. What are your thoughts?" Well, first, thank you so much, Charles, for always being part of our mailbag episodes. Really appreciate that. I have to agree with almost everything that you said. I think the 25-9 run changed expectations for 2025. If you look back at 2024, what was the whole mantra when that season began? Hey, they just have to keep their heads above water, play 500 ball at the end of April. And then it became, well, they just have to do that until the end of May. Reinforcements are coming. There's no need to worry. And then that was it. That was the story of 2024. It was 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, 1 step forward, 1 step back. There was no actual momentum that we saw the 2024 team. And obviously, there might have been some clubhouse issues that I'm sure will come out in a tell-all book. Either a Randy Rosarena bio or a Yandy bio, or Mark Topkin will come out with a great book in 10 years' time. But the Rays front office decided, hey, you know what? This is not the season, and we can get some really nice pieces for our farm system, and let's go ahead and pull a fire sale, because it was a fire sale. It was a fire sale. I know there was some discussion last year that it's not a fire sale. It was most definitely a fire sale. And if that's not a fire sale, then show me one. Because that's the definition. When you look at all those names that you traded, Eflin, Jason Adam, Randy Rosarena, Isaac Paredes, those are all stars. And they're gone. And that's not even half of the team that was traded. So the 2024 team never really got on a run. And that's why the 2025 team has been more disappointing, because that 25-9 changed our expectations completely, because it showed a team that could win with small ball. It showed a team that could have a dependable bullpen. It showed a team that had great starting rotation. It showed a team that could bop homers like they wanted to, when they wanted to. It showed a complete team. And in 2025, we didn't really see that coming into the season. So that's why when you change the expectations with a 25-9 run, it does make the bottom fall out so hollow. It really, when you enter the trade deadline this year, yeah, you deal some pieces like Caballero and Littell, but you're thinking, okay, well, for Littell, we got Hauser, and Hauser's been doing great with the White Sox. Why not? That's a wash. And Caballero, that is a loss for sure. But then you're thinking, okay, well, then we can have some opportunity there with Everson Pereira. We do need some pop in the outfield. We haven't had that in the outfield this year with Mangum and Josh Lowe and Morel and Simpson not really giving you a lot of pop. Maybe Pereira can be that guy. And it just didn't happen. And you come out flat after the All-Star break. I mean, you got swept by Cincinnati. You looked awful against the White Sox at home. And although you had a West Coast trip that we were pretty happy about, if you really look at it, it was a 500 road trip. Was it a difficult road trip? Yes. In the context of things, getting out of there 500, great. But really, that doesn't help you when you're so far down in the standings, a 500 road trip. You needed to make a statement, and you didn't. And the only team that you faced that's a playoff team, they swept you. So you come back home, the Yankees just destroy the Rays. It was the final nail in the coffin. So I think the 2025 team has to be looked at more disappointing. And then you add on to the fact that Junior Caminero is having a tremendous season. I mean, this guy's going to have 40-plus home runs, and he should be breaking the single-season home run record set by Carlos Peña in 2009 with 46. He's really close. He's at 39. So you have that type of season, and that makes it more disappointing. You have a Yandy Diaz tying his career high in home runs and really playing great ball, except for April. And you're wasting it. Brandon Lowe has been mostly healthy, is going to be playing the most games he's ever played, except for that 2021 season when he had 39 home runs. And you don't really do a lot. And you had Chandler Simpson come up big and Jake Mangum and be really good, exciting stories for the Rays, and you didn't break through. Drew Rasmussen having a tremendous all-star season, and you didn't break through. So I think overall the 2025 season had higher peaks, which then in turn make the fall hurt even more than in 2024. 2024, we never really experienced a peak so that we could experience a fall. It was just all meh. It was just all gray, which is not great. But when you look at the comparison, I think you have to look at the 2025 season saying that it's more disappointing than the 2024 season. But from disappointment to decisions, we'll look at the logjam at first base and DH and why Big Bob's future might already be written for 2026. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live. The energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person. And now there are only 2 homestands left for the Rays in 2025. And you've got to go see your Rays, and you got to use Game Time. Why? Well, because it's actually fun to get tickets using Game Time. You know why? Because there's no surprise fees. That's my favorite part about Game Time. You don't just get stuck with all these fees at the end of the line that you didn't think that you would get, okay? It's the price you see. That's the price that you pay. So take advantage and download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today.
Well, August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day. It is a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. So maybe you want to crown the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as the champion in August. Well, you can do that on FanDuel. All you have to do is visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game.
Thank you for watching and listening to Locked On Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Let's start with the second mailbag question, brought to you by Big Blue Fan. He says, if Bobby Barrels can find some nice success this last month, then he could really add a great power element to this lineup. How would you pair up Aranda, Yandy, and Seymour to all get playing time? Possible Yandy goes to third when Junior needs days off. Just food for thought. Well, Big Blue Fan, thank you for writing and always being involved in our mailbag episodes. Really appreciate that. Well, let's take a look at what Big Bob has been doing in 28 at-bats. He's got a slash line of 214, 241, 598. One home run, 4 RBI, 1 run, and 6 hits. I think first, Big Bob won't make the team in 2026 unless two things happen. There are injuries or there are trades to both Yandy Diaz and Jonathan Aranda. If those things do not happen, Big Bob is not going to make the 2026 team. And this is not a knock at all. This is just how difficult it is to break into the MLB team. I mean, you think back at the road that Jonathan Aranda had to travel. My gosh, he made his debut in 2022, and with injuries and log jams, he didn't really establish himself until this year, where he was an all-star. So let's look at the macro here. With Yandy getting older, he's already been relegated to DH mostly this year, and the first base that he's played in, it's basically since Jonathan Aranda was gone, or here and there when he needed a day off, when there was a tough lefty and they didn't want Jonathan Aranda, who was their best hitter, to face a lefty. Regardless, so I think putting it out there that Yandy could potentially play third base with giving Junior a day off here and there, I don't think that's going to happen at all. We've seen the transition happening from Yandy being a third baseman to a first baseman, and now we're seeing that DH mostly happening with Yandy. So I think for 2026, you really are slotting him in there for DH in the few sparse starts at first base when needed. Jonathan Aranda, he's an all-star. And he was your best and most stable bat in all of 2025 until he got hurt. He's your starter. He's your starting first baseman for next year. Big Bob just doesn't have a place right now, unless, again, injuries and trades. And I think the Rays are doing right by him. First, dude's crushed AAA. He's got nothing else to prove down there. Aranda is hurt. Give him a shot. And you know what? He's getting a good look because he played all 3 games in San Francisco, then came back to play both games against New York. He played 2 out of 3 against St. Louis and has played 1 so far against Cleveland. So he is getting a good look. But when you look at 2026, I think it would be very difficult to see him break through unless a trade or an injury happens to either Yandy or Jonathan Aranda. Now, I will say this team, if they want to put their best foot forward with the offense that they have, they should not trade either Yandy Diaz or Jonathan Aranda. We should definitely not hope for injuries for Yandy Diaz or Jonathan Aranda, because that combination is extremely valuable offensively, and the Rays do not have the luxury to just trade away or miss some playing time through injuries of either player. These are one of your 2 best hitters, and when they're in the lineup together, it makes a difference, especially if you want to provide some protection for your newest face of the franchise in Junior Caminero. Like, he needs some help in that lineup. It can't just be all him. So all this to say, it's exciting to have a guy like Big Bob where he makes contact, and look, he's not nicknamed Bobby Barrels for no reason. The dude can hit him a long way, and he's got that stature and demeanor of I'm just here to mash baseballs, my 4 at-bats, and that's great. But I think this team will be stronger if it has Yandy and Aranda rather than a combination with Big Bob, at least for now in 2026. But in 2025, I would definitely be more in favor of keeping Yandy off his feet, giving Big Bob some opportunity, get him acclimated to the big league team, because we know that with rotations and bullpens, you need more than the 5 guys in the rotation. You need more than the 7 guys in the bullpen. You need guys in AAA to be able to step up when something happens. Big Bob is just going to have to fill that role for a while. And yes, like I said earlier, he has nothing else to prove at AAA, but you can only have so many bodies in Major League Baseball. So I don't think right now, because of his defensive rigidity, as well as Yandy's and as well as Aranda, like it just makes it for a logjam. But I think logjam can also be looked at as depth. And in this case, it would be really nice to know that, hey, if something happens, we have a guy like Big Bob that can step in and do his job. And guess what? That's why it's very important in the next 30 games to give Bob a nice long look. And I think they're doing that. And I hope that doesn't change. He should be getting a lot of playing time. And I would be okay with seeing a little bit less Yandy to give Big Bob a lot more opportunities, because he's going to need that experience right now if you call on him in 2026 to step up when something happens. And inevitably, something will happen because this is a sport and people get hurt, and these are human beings and they're not numbers on a spreadsheet. And so accidents happen, just like it happened to Jonathan this year against New York. So I think it's great that he's getting a good look in 2025. I would definitely push for even more for Big Bob to get more playing time, to get him acclimated for 2026 in that eventuality of him getting called up. But if you look at the 2026 team and the roster of how it's going to shape out, I would be incredibly surprised if he makes it in without an injury or a trade to Yandy or Jonathan Aranda. It's just going to be very difficult for him to make that 2026 team without either of those things happening. And guess what, people? We've reached the 3rd segment, and there's another question regarding Josh Lowe versus Christopher Morel. One has the better glove, but both raise questions for the Rays moving forward.
All right, listeners, we have an important request for you all. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping out.
Hey, Locked On Rays fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Well, don't do that. Stop leaving money behind and get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use our limited time promo code and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You're already going to get gas, right? Well, why don't you get up to $300 a year just from buying that gas you already needed? Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and then you can cash out at any time using PayPal or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. So don't let this offer drive by. Download the free Upside app right now. Use our limited time code for a limited 25 cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code 2025. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. Thank you for watching and listening to Locked On Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We've reached the 3rd segment, like I teased previously, and this one comes from Ira, who says, I watched a segment that compared Josh Lowe and Christopher Morel. One important element that was not reviewed, defense. I trust you agree that Lowe is a superior defender by a significant margin. While not a spectacular outfielder, Josh is consistent and steady, two traits that Morel is not. Yes, Morel comes up with the occasional highlight reel catch, but he also misplays his share of chances. When you add defense to the player comparison, Josh is the overall better player this season, especially considering that the Rays place such high emphasis on defense. I look forward to your thoughts. Ira from Clearwater. Well, thank you so much for writing to us on this mailbag episode. We always want to hear you and hey, literally hear you. You can send audio notes to us and we will play them on the show and get your voice on the show. But thank you, Ira. Let's talk about Morel v. Lowe, or Josh Lowe, rather. Let's talk about Morel v. Lowe. We did this comparison a couple weeks offensively. You're right. We mostly centered on offense. We did mention defense very on the surface, so let's get into it. When you look at outs above average, and I'm going to give you guys the definition so we all follow along here on the same page. Outs above average is a range-based metric of skill that shows how many outs a player has saved over his peers. When you look at outs above average, OAA, Christopher Morel is at -5. So he's cost the Rays 5 runs in the outfield, while Josh Lowe is -2. So, yes, is Josh in this statistic better than Chris? For sure, of course. But there are concerns to his game. And we're going to get into that because when you look at fielding run value, which let's give us the definition so we are all on the same page again. Fielding run value is StatCast's overall metric for capturing a player's measurable defensive performance onto a run-based scale, converting various metrics like OAA, blocking, framing, etc. into just one number. So when you look at fielding run value, Christopher Morel is at -6. Not great. When you look at Josh Lowe, it's -3. Let's look at arm strength. Arm strength, Josh is in the 63rd percentile, averaging an 86.2 miles an hour. Christopher Morel has him beat there. He's in the 94th percentile, averaging at 92.4 miles an hour. So the arm strength is definitely on Christopher Morel's side. Everything else, though, does skew towards Josh Lowe. The issue, I think, is not really is Josh Lowe better defensively than Christopher Morel. I think we can all know that by just the eye test and not even going into the numbers. We can see that Josh is a better defender than Christopher Morel. Like you're saying, Ira, the highlight reel catches that Morel does, that does happen. But consistently speaking, Josh is a better outfielder. We agree on that. I think all Rays fans would agree on that. But the concern for me here is that there are wrinkles and issues to Josh Lowe's game. He's been getting worse defensively each year. Let's look at fielding run value for Josh Lowe since his call-up. From 2021 to 2025, he's gotten worse and worse in fielding run value. He started at 2021 with 0, small sample size, so you can take that as you want. But then in the following seasons, -1, -1, -2, -3 this year. So he's not getting better. Is he better than Morel? Fine, sure. But I think when you are thinking of Josh Lowe and his terrific 2023 campaign, you were thinking this guy's going to be a core part of this team moving forward. But his offense has dropped. His injuries related or not, his offense has dropped, and the fielding is getting worse each year. Concerning for me is because he's only 27. You expect people's defense and their bat to go down. But if we're talking defensively, you know the defense is going to take a hit when you're not getting as many good jumps, when the bursts aren't there anymore. But that happens with age. Josh Lowe is 27. So that's what's concerning. And that's why we should really be thinking the 2026 season is a make or break year for Josh. with this team. I don't think that he would be able to get another year of let's see how that goes and see if 2023 is a peak or he can really sustain that. 2026 is a make or break year for Josh Lowe, and I appreciate the question, Ira. Yes, Josh Lowe is a better defensive player than Christopher Morel, which then in turn you can say, well, overall he's better. Although I will say right now, Christopher Morel does have a higher OPS than Josh Lowe. He's at 684. Josh Lowe is at 670. Just food for thought there. It's only one metric, sure. Josh has him in an on-base percentage, 302 to 281, and has him on average 235 to 219. But they're way too close for my liking offensively, and there are red flags I'm seeing with Josh Lowe's fielding year after year and not getting, at least not being stable. I'm not even asking to get better, which should be the premise, right? A young player more in the league should be getting better until the age, gets him. That's not the case. He has just gotten worse each year, at least with fielding run value. So, something to look at, and that's why 2026 is going to be a make or break it year for Josh Lowe with this team. You can't. You're getting farther and farther away from that 2023 season, and there are going to be questions. And when guys like Jake Mangum, Chandler Simpson, maybe Everson Pereira, people don't forget about Richie Palacios. Don't forget about him. Don't forget about Johnny DeLuca. Names are going to start to come up and want some playing time. And if Josh is really not performing the way that he did in 2023, the 2024 and 2025 numbers, those can be replicated by any of the guys that I just said. Any of the guys can produce what Josh has been doing the past 2 years. And defensively speaking, wouldn't you rather have a Mangum at a corner outfield spot than maybe Josh Lowe? Yeah, the pop might not be there, but overall the production, it's going to be either equal or maybe slightly better. So it's a concern for Josh Lowe. So let's hope that the 2026 season comes with much better results, both offensively and defensively. That's it for the show today. Really fun mailbag episode. Really appreciate you guys sending in your questions. Always send them to lockedonrays@gmail.com. You can also DM us. You can also send voice memos. Like I said earlier, we really enjoy getting your voices on the show because it just makes it more complete, and it makes it a community that we've been building since 2019 and on YouTube since 2021. So it really makes us happy to see all those comments flying in back and forth. So again, thank you so much for making Locked On Rays your first listen every day. For your second listen, why not listen to College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview? Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation, along with two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson. It's a college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. We will be back with another Locked On Rays podcast tomorrow. Kevin and I, until then, stay safe.